get yourself going, we come in and plat it.
Yeah, like some of the other projects have done.
Yeah. Since done that on a couple of. Started the project, made it fit within the parameters of.
We're to the, but jury went, jury's.
That way you have flexibility.
Yes.
Because if the market shifts, because right now this is design.
We have
26 plus.
Yeah.
If the market shifts,
Basically,
so it's private.
one of the people that did.
Definitely some options.
Yeah, thank you.
She manages.
No, so one's in Rigby, the other's in Idaho Falls. So
She's done an amazing job. It's not.
no, our million.
It's a 3 day. Deal.
Everything.
Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I mean, he's either gonna have to go out of state or he's gonna. I told him, I told him, I helped him. Create an LLC. Gotta beat the push.
Go through, finish it, and then come back through and show them that we made the changes. That way we don't, I want to make sure we get through everything first.
Pulled up as PDFs down here instead.
Those people are.
And he's so good. I mean, very.
But we'd have this one and the cell tower.
So I think we'll start to see more and more of those. Anybody.
They've got us, they have this now.
Oh, I see.
But it's got
53. It's just, we were.
Standards. Where's the backup to page?
Okay.
For 16.
Then we're sure.
that we've covered.
Cause this is.
Talked about it.
I made myself a drink and then I forgot to bring it. Oh.
Well, that's why I thought I was a little late, because I had to stop off and
CMA on them now and fresh.
the other one, grading senior projects.
So summertime, you said you're going to Europe, is that what you're going? You're getting ready?
Yep.
When you guys leave?
Oh,
We leave on the 9th, I think,
Yeah.
of June.
Wow.
Yeah, come up quick.
That's me. Oh, we ran out. Yeah, well, you have that by now. Now we got.
You can do.
I would prefer the king rather than president, but you know. Yeah, whatever. It's like we're just gonna play Eric, so everybody knows Eric. He's Eric.
You're taking it away.
So.
Yeah, for the first half, we're doing a tour where we take people where. And then they go home and I'm going to continue the new tour but where I'm a participant. But she'll just go over about half.
It's and then you just replace tires every few years.
Oh, you'll be gone around 4 weeks. Oh.
Yep. Three and a half.
Figured out what we're doing.
I'll be back.
Okay.
You straight house?
You get an awful
house?
Yeah.
You go live in their house?
Alicia's gone. I think she's gonna try to, do we have a Zoom?
We have it, of course.
I'm here.
Oh, Alicia's here.
I
don't know about Brianna. Meeting. Maybe not.
Instead of everything being much more room over here, more ample room. And then they finally figured out.
Brianna has to be excused.
If you want to go ahead and get it started.
Oh, the driver, let's keep it. I'm sorry.
Nice start.
All right, well, thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you. Appreciate your time here and time that you dedicate to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. So we just want to go over some of these things that Alan and his staff have worked on for a while, and we continue on this. So go ahead, Alan.
We want to, let's introduce Rick to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Rick.
Hi.
Right here, Rick Robinson, Robinson with the N, right?
With the
Yes,
N.
Robinson. And yeah, I don't, many of you probably know Rick. He's a realtor here in town and has been very active with the city and doing the Christmas light show on the Tabernacle and then at the pool, and just doing a lot of things to help out in the community. He's also been serving on our Historical Preservation Committee and the Tabernacle Fund Committee. So been very active and help us out with a lot of things. And so new Planning and Zoning Commissioner now. So thank you. Appreciate your willingness to serve. Okay. All right.
Thanks, Mayor. Couple of things. We made it to, we were right around page 53. I'm gonna back up just a teeny bit.
Many pages.
Oh, yeah, tons of pages. What we want to do first of all is get through stuff you have not seen yet that we wanted to finish. There's not a whole lot of it. Then we want to go back and show you that we made the changes that you requested in the last meeting. So that you can see where we're at on that. Couple of things that have happened in the interim in this time frame. The state has stepped up and really stuck their hands in everybody's business in every city. They're trying to solve the housing crisis by telling every community what to do. So we've had a bunch of bills introduced. We've had quite a few of them that have been passed. It's going to affect our code seriously. So even if we get done tonight and get through that, we've got to go back through, see what theirs does, see how it affects this. So we're going to end up in another work meeting before this is presented to any of you guys for approval. So that's just a caveat.
These are codes that go into effect immediately.
January, July 25th. Yeah, there's stuff and some of them are, I mean, it's like short-term rentals. You can't, there's no owner occupied requirement, no parking requirements, no licensing.
No parking requirements?
Nothing.
No, I can't ask for any of that.
Crazy.
For a short-term rental.
Short-term rental. And that's just an idea of some of the stuff that's coming down. So anyways, we want to go through this. Again, this is an open discussion with you guys. We're here to get your input. We put together what we think is the best option. That doesn't mean it's the best because you guys are the ones that are making the decisions on these, especially City Council, because you're the ones that are actually implementing this. So we want your input. We want your advice on how to go through that. So the very first part of this, I'll just reiterate, we wanted to remove the RVD district. RVD is Residential Business District. We have 2 lots in the city. Right up next to, used to be Dr. Peterson's office. Now it's I can't even remember who it's in now. It's a therapy place. Yeah. There's the 2 next to it. It used to be Dr. Fulmer's office and the one next to it. That's the only ones in the whole city. For some reason, they had this district and they removed it. They forgot to change these 2 out. And they kept the code just for that. So we want to take it away. If you choose to do that, then we're going to come back in and have those rezoned as a mixed use. So it can still be residential and commercial, and we would leave that. So that's the proposal there. And I know everybody was pretty well in agreement to that. We just want to move from there. Okay. So let's go beyond RBD. Rick, for your information, when we do these, everything is red is what we're removing or moving. And then you will see in green anything that has been moved or is new. And so anything in black is original code and it stays the same. Just so you see what's going on. Yell at me if I don't say Robinson, because I have a brother-in-law that's Robinson. So you're okay. Okay, this is in the tag. We, again, in RE, we changed the rural residential to residential estates. This is in one, in those 2 areas. We just wanted to have the name change in there. And this is just going through this chart. And we're going to show you all of the permitted uses that would be removed with like RBD going away and some of the others in there. So that's all these are. So you're going to see a whole bunch of pages of this that just shows you every single permitted use that it was changed. So you should only see red in all of this because it's just those zones that took that out. And I do have to make one other announcement. I know Katie's told a few of you. Katie has accepted the position of assistant HR for the city. And we are brokenhearted on the planning side. And HR is cheering, and it's a battle between north and south. We wish her the best of luck. She is.
She's good enough, she's not, they're gonna pay good enough.
Yeah, the pay would have to be a lot higher. But we are really going to miss her, so we will be in the process of hiring a new administrative assistant for planning and zoning. I want to especially thank Katie for all of the work she's done. She kept us in line and straight and what we needed to do at times when we were going, what? She's very good at her job. Anyways, so that ends this part of this one. Now we want to jump into the next one, which is the changes that we talked about in the comprehensive plan. So this is just coming in and making some of those changes to the names and that. Now, we want to have a discussion, and we'll get to this one. Colin brought up the fact of putting LDR3 in intermediate and low. Let's save that discussion for the end, but we just want to show in here, and we'll come back and address that one. Other than that, it just represents some of the changes we made as we went through. And Rick, I don't know how familiar you are with the comprehensive plan and what it does. Okay, you've dealt with them before. Okay. So again, this is just showing that we continue on through. Again, removing the RBD. That was one of them we missed, Katie, is we had proposed putting LDR3 in both of them. We're showing taking it out of the intermediate, but the other. Again, this just breaks it down and shows you those changes that we make. And this actually goes into our development code as reference for those that are looking to, what do I need to have comprehensive zone to fit my zone? So that's what this does in there. Professional office zone, for some reason, that one had never been removed, even though we don't have that code anywhere. So we're removing that. And then the residential business district. Is that the end of it? Okay, so that takes care of that one. The next one we're jumping into is cell towers. We've had a couple of requests for new cell towers. And when we looked at our code, we just went, holy cow, it's going to take 5 different engineers to even understand how to manage this code. So we did the first attempt at coming into streamlining it and making it more effective in getting what we want to happen. So some of the things we're going to talk about is, you know, size of tower, how tall, separations, what property lines from where. If you want to see them clustered, if you want to see them in certain zones, those are the type of things that we've put together on our side. So this is some of our goals and our objectives. Protect the public health, safety, and welfare. That's number one. We always want to do that. Preserves the visual character and community appearance and minimizes the adverse visual impacts through design, location, landscaping, and screening. Promotes co-location, which means how many of them can we cluster together rather than have them scattered all over the city? And use of existing structures to minimize the total number of tower sites throughout the community. Standard towers right now they can put up to 3 bands on them. Some go more, but that's standard. Eric.
So are you coordinating with the county on this? Because we should have a standard, somewhat of a standard for the whole area.
Yes.
Because, you know, they could just go in just outside the city limits and put one in.
That'll be in ours.
Be totally against what, you know, our thoughts. And so we probably ought to coordinate that with the county.
Yeah. And when we make these changes, I have to sit down with Gary because they have to adopt everything we do. So then I can sit down and have that discussion with Gary. But that's a good suggestion, Eric. I appreciate that. Encourages towers and antenna to be located where adverse impacts to the community are minimal, avoiding residential areas if possible. We ran into one person that was trying to do the development, and there was a cell tower on the land, and it was a narrow piece. Yeah, they couldn't make it work because they had to be 100 feet away, and it just made it so they couldn't make the development work. And it's a tower that, how do you change it now? The only option he would have is to be able to buy 2 or 3 pieces and then work around it, and it becomes difficult.
Alan, on that, what Eric just brought up, I think we should have you sit down with them and go over it before we adopt it.
Yes, we'll
Just in
do it
case
before.
Before, but not
Yeah.
after. Let's before. Do it
Yes.
before.
Yeah, I have to present these to Gary to look at before we even approve them. Because he'll be approving
Okay.
them once ours is approved. It goes through that, but that's good. Okay, any questions on what we've done there? Yes.
I was just gonna ask, so up next to the water tower,
Mhm.
we have other towers, right?
We have a lot of towers up that way.
And so right now, is that a main hub for most of our?
That's where a lot of them like to go because they want to be as high on the hill as they can because it gives them further range. So you have those typically happen. Right now, we've got an application for one to go in next to Walmart. So you're getting out that way. And it's-
Even shooting that one up there, you have dead spots down in
Yeah.
junior high.
The shadow, yeah.
This will shoot it back under theirs where they can't get a in those situations.
one inside Costco.
In Costco? What about the Sam? You don't want one in Sam's?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sure Idaho Falls would do that for us. Okay, any other questions on that part of it? So that's our goals and what we're trying to accomplish in what we're doing.
I want to ask this
Yes.
question. Who requests the cell towers? Is that who makes the request? Who says, I want a cell tower in your city?
The person that, it can be one of two things. If Verizon comes in and wants to put a new tower in, they'll be the one requesting it.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a private citizen that'll put the tower up and then they rent space on the tower.
So one of the cell phone companies comes to them and says, we'd like to rent your space.
Or
And
they'll
then that
purchase
person-
that little corner and make that work and put the tower up.
And then that person comes and says, I want to put a cell tower here.
Yes,
But both of them are driven by the company.
correct.
Like T-Con Communication right now, a bunch of cell towers that they don't have no cell, but they lease it out to the Verizon and.
Yes.
T-Mobile.
Oh, got you.
They put up the tower and they
Okay.
lease out all the space for
Okay.
30 years or whatever, making.
And a typical tower, yeah, Dave.
Well, I just wondered, is there a limit to the number? I mean, because you kind of see those long rectangular, I assume, are the transmitters. Is there a limit to those? How many you can put all those on a tower?
If you look at a cell tower, they kind of go in a ring all the way around. And you'll have one row that goes all around. They aim in every direction. And typically it's like at 90 feet, 100, 110 and then 150. There's 3 different ranges and they can put those in there. Each one of them goes all the way around. 3, I have seen some that go to 4.
And is that all for one company, or do companies
Sometimes
ever
it's
get
different
together
ones.
to, okay.
Usually we have one out in Plano where the guy put the tower up and then he rents the different levels to different companies.
Mm-hmm.
He set his up for 6 different providers to actually use them. So, and he gets so much a month.
And where you talked about in the, at the beginning where you kind of set your parameters or your goals, one was to use existing structures. Are you considering buildings? Are you considering like the water tower itself?
Existing towers.
Existing towers?
Some existing towers may only have one array, and if we can encourage them to put more arrays on one rather than a whole new tower, that's what we'll try to do.
Okay.
There are towers that go on top of buildings, and they apply for those. The Cedars has one on top of theirs, but it's usually a 10, 20-foot mast that's just up over the top of it, and then they go from there. So, but there's rules in here for that one also.
Okay.
Anybody that's trying to broadcast. And then also there's basically 2 types of pole. You have monopole, which is just one pole. And then you have the lattice, which is the one where you see they have all the 3-corner deal and all the bars in between. Some of them, we're trying to push more to the monopole simply because it's less intrusive to people's lives. You don't see it as much and that type of things. But some of them, depending on the weight of the equipment, have to go to the lattice.
I just saying, it's like the one out here by the police department, behind the police department.
Yeah, it's just out here.
It's not, it's crazy.
It's a lattice and you get used to them. This is the sad part.
This one's just a pole,
Oh, is it the monopole?
Mhm.
Okay. The lattice one is up on Barney Dairy.
right there.
They have one there. Right.
They
next-
stuck it right against the trees, which helped.
Yes.
It's sticking out right in the middle of the field.
Yes. So those are reasons.
Mm.
Some of this is just gonna be FAA stuff, FCC requirements. We're gonna make sure that they meet all standards, both electrical, FAA, FCC. They have to bring to us, we have met their requirements. FAA is the biggest one. How close are you to the airport? Does this interfere with our flight patterns? And do you have the proper lights and stuff to make sure you're warning airplanes?
Alan?
Yes.
How often does the FFA or FFA and how often do they change their regulations?
That I don't know. All we know is they have to stay current with FAA.
Okay, so we just don't know if we're going to be updating this every 6 months or
Yeah,
every year.
I think they have an annual renewal that they have to go through.
Okay,
And I believe they have to show we are still meeting their standards.
okay,
But that's one of the things we looked at. We don't want to get in the game of telling them how to meet FAA. Yeah, we just leave it. You have to meet those requirements. And of course, the standard electrical, structural, these have to have engineer drawings stamped so that we know these meet the approval. They're going to stand up like they're supposed to. And if they fail to keep them up, we have that 6-month window to say either come in compliance or bring the tower down.
We have anything in there? I noticed the one over there on Barney Dairy Road, right at the corner. You know, they've got a chain link fence around it, but then they've got plants planted all the way around.
It's in
Is
there.
it coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in here. Okay. Permits required. This is one of those, they're gonna have to get a building permit from us to move that through. Statement of compliance with local, state, and federal engineering plans have to be stamped. So we want an engineer to sign off saying, I'm standing behind this. Building plans, especially for fences, most of them will have a building of some type to store the cabinets and that equipment. It all has to meet our building plans, our form-based code, or our code. Electrical elevation drawings, we want to see what you're building, how tall it is, what arrays you're going to put on that thing. Land use zoning for tower property, how close it is to adjacent properties. We want to be able to see all of that in that site plan.
Most of them have generators too. Are we putting anything on sound that those generators can put out or anything?
They're going to have to meet the noise ordinance.
By the residential.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to keep them away from residential as much as we can.
Most of them do have generators.
Yeah.
So this is all green. I didn't see red necessarily for this. So is this a new?
This is all, it may be new and it may be moved
Okay. It
from
can
other
be moved from
parts.
another
Yeah.
place.
But
Okay.
even if we moved it, we crossed out where we moved
Where you
it
moved
from.
right?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Jim, there's food in there. If you want to grab something. No matter what, it is a conditional use permit. They will come in front of P&Z and City Council for approval, no matter where it goes. We want you guys to look at it and say, we agree with this or we don't like it here. So that's one of the requirements. We don't want to change that. Okay. Any others in there? Let's keep going. Here's where some of them you see that are taken out.
Do we have anything on a distance from other people's property? Like,
Yes.
see, you had
It's
brought up
coming
that,
out.
you brought up that one that all of a sudden their value goes down because now they can't build there because of towers, right, on the other people's property.
Well, and the challenge is if some farmer wants to put one out in the middle of his field, if he's away from everybody else, I can't stop it. But they need to be aware that when you do sell this for development, you're going to have restrictions on how close you can build.
I'm talking about the ones that put it right close to the fence and all of a sudden the next owner next to it can't build because this farmer put a tower
Yes.
right next to the property line and sit out in the middle of the field. If he wants it in the middle of the field of his, then that's a different story, but if it's against
This is
somebody
one
else.
of our controversial discussions. We were wavering both ways. Do we make it so they have to get a restrictive lot covenant from the neighbor? Saying, I know this tower's going in and I'm okay with that being an issue. Now, the interesting thing is the one that they submitted for out by Walmart, They have an engineer that's willing to stamp the plan that says it will collapse upon itself. It will not land outside of the footprint.
Nowadays, they can do that.
And that's what he claims. They says he's willing to stamp the plans and sign it, that he will guarantee this will not land outside of it. So if it does, he's liable,
Even in high winds?
even in high winds. He says this tower is designed to collapse. I think they do it with cables and stuff run through it, that when it snaps, it just forces it to fall like this, rather than like fall away. I'm assuming, I don't know. He just says, I can guarantee it.
Which still protects the property owners to the next, which I like.
What's that?
Which protects the property owners and stuff next to it, that we can still build
Yes.
and have them there, because as we grow, we're gonna end up going around.
And it was our question, because we were looking at it going, well, we gotta make, because this was in a back corner of Walmart, right against the property line. He met his setbacks. But we're going, you gotta go get permission from these guys. And he goes, why? I says, because if your tower lands over there, or if he wants to build next to you, then we've got a problem. And he goes, no, we'll plan. But I want to know if that's what you guys want in there, or do you want spaces? Residential, we're still putting a space in.
To me, the engineering they can do now, and it can collapse down on itself if they stamp it that way.
Okay.
We're still protecting the people around.
Yes.
And the property owners around.
So I mean, I'd rather see that we don't restrict everybody to something if it can be engineered differently.
Correct.
Okay? And at the same time, this has to come before
You guys.
this body in perpetuity, so those would be questions that I would assume would come up or neighbors would have.
Yes.
To make sure, so.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we want to keep it a CUP, is simply because we want the neighbors to weigh in on that, to get their fears answered or their concerns or anything of that sense. Or, it doesn't work, and then you guys can make that decision. So fall zones, they can be designed within their own setbacks. They have their standard zone setbacks that they have to meet, just the same as others. Easements, restricted lot covenants, if they're accessing through somebody's property, we need to see the easement, or we need to have a restricted lot covenant guaranteeing you can continue to come in, maintain and service and everything else.
I had jumped ahead because that's where the conversation was headed.
Oh,
So I'll go
okay.
back now to
Okay.
where we were.
Katie will miss you. You know what you're doing.
She anticipated my thinking.
Yeah.
Tower cannot be artificially lit. Sorry, Rick. They can only put on required FAA required lighting. So nothing above and beyond. So we don't want Christmas lights or Halloween or anything else being put up on the tower.
I've noticed in some places they've required them to make them look like a tree. You know what I mean? Did that ever enter into the
It's one of the
discussion?
things we've talked about, and it's in there.
Okay,
We don't require it, but if they can, then they can put in. I've seen them where they look like a tree.
yeah, it looked like
It's hardly-
an evergreen tree or something. Yeah, I've seen palm tree ones
I've
too,
seen
like
palm trees and I've seen
San
evergreen.
Diego.
That's become warm climate. Look like a pine tree.
Don't put palm trees. We'll give people the wrong idea when we get there.
That might stand out. It's a palm tree doing in Idaho.
Well, if you put it out in the Aegean close to the sandhills, the beach, I think we'd be okay. They do. No advertising on the towers. I mean, they can put their own logo on their equipment, but these are not to be turned into a billboard or anything else of that type. Okay. Colors, we want them neutral colors, grays, things like that are less intrusive. We don't want any brilliant copper colored, blue, passion pink, or whatever it is. We don't want wild colors.
Passion pink, the fact that you even know to call it that. You have granddaughters, by
I don't know what it is, but I heard the term. If upon inspection, the city sees that the tower fails to comply with codes and standards.
That's being taken out too.
Oh,
They
that's
just
going
didn't
out.
Put the
We forgot
red
to cross
line.
it out.
Well, it's red. It just doesn't have the line through it.
Okay,
The system was having a moment.
okay. This is one that we spent a little bit of time on, the height of the towers. Towers provided a licensed professional engineer certifies the tower constructively accommodate the number of shared users proposed by the applicant, the tower shall not exceed the following height restrictions. One user, if you're only going to put one, it has to stay at 90 feet. Now, if you're planning on three and you've only got one, great, go to the higher one, and then you're going to add them later. Two users, they can go to 120 feet. Three, they can go to that 150 feet. We do have ones in the city at 150 feet. So I think the one out on Barney is 150.
Alan, when you say users, you mean what on that?
That
Is
would
that
be like
How many
Verizon.
Providers?
It would be like Verizon or whoever comes
Okay.
in, T-Mobile. It would,
Okay,
there's
so that's rentable
space
space. Okay,
on the tower.
okay.
Ground mounted antennas, because we're also dealing with, it's rare anymore, but we do have some ham operators. We also have still a few have two-way radios. It's rare, but they still do. So we did put in there 30 feet maximum height for those type of antennas. I'm not going to let them go 150 feet.
So what's the difference though? I mean, how do you tell the difference between a freestanding ground mounted antenna and something that they're gonna mount cell repeaters?
They're going to come to me and ask for.
So you're gonna ask them, what's the purpose of this? And then it's gonna be okay.
Alan, what's a normal power pole?
Oh, it's ground mounted.
Normal tower pole? Tower pole?
The height.
Depends.
It's
You
gonna be
talking a
more than
normal
30
one or
feet.
you talking the?
The reason why I bring that up, because I know we have up by the water tower right now, like 3 power poles. And they're pretty good size, and they all, they have radio antennas on that deals with the buses
Yes.
and the school district and also police. I think they're taller than 30 feet. I don't want to limit that. That's why we gotta be careful on the size of the 30. What is that up there? I don't know.
Well, I'm talking 30s for a ham operator or a private. You're getting
Private.
into school district,
Yeah.
that type of stuff.
'Cause I know
We need to clarify between private and commercial use.
I don't
Maybe
do that.
even in parentheses, right? I mean, if you can put in there, what does that, what is a ground mounted antenna? What is,
Okay, it's a good
what would it
idea.
include, right? So whatever.
Ham operator,
Sure.
two of the FM stations.
I like the private
Might be a
and
good idea.
commercial because like say school district has it up there, the police has. It. And I know that.
You're on a repeater up there, right?
Yes, and I know that the one up there has probably a 30 or 40 foot pole and then an antenna on top of that by 20 feet.
Okay.
That sticks up above that.
It's just like the fiberglass
Yep,
pole that
one
continues.
fiberglass
on
pole up.
Okay.
It deals with all the buses.
Especially for safety purposes, especially
Yeah.
for public. I mean, this is
Maybe you
a
should put
personal-
public and
up.
private. Cause that would just dictate.
Well, I think you need to do public, commercial and private. So you have those 3 designations.
I just know that they're out.
So much, we don't have some-
Because if you have somebody like Teton
Is 30
Communications
feet a
coming in. that's-
reasonable height? I mean, is 30 feet tall enough to
Yeah.
do what they?
So a ham operator can do what they.
Very few ham operators go higher than 30.
I just don't want to limit the schools.
Yeah.
And police, we don't have police. either.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We don't want.
Buses.
Barely mounted antennas, we don't want them going any more than 30 feet above the top of the structure.
Oh.
And
So
then
it's a 4-story building, 30 feet above.
you're looking at 40, it'd be 70 feet total. You're still less than what's on the ground.
Sure.
Our concerns on the building is, number one, they're gonna have to prove to us that the structure can handle that on top of it
Yeah.
and not have a collapse. But it's just that fact of, is that really where we want them to happen in that? And I believe the one on Cedars, I don't know if that's a cell tower. It might be. But I know they have one up there.
As our buildings get bigger, we're gonna have some on the corners.
Yeah.
Say you go in New York and they're on all the corners of those
Yes.
buildings down low.
Yeah.
They're not clear at the top. They're not top too, but they're down low too.
They are.
Is there any, I'm curious about residential areas. Do we have any limits on,
Get to the residential.
well, but not cell towers. I'm still talking about this 30 feet above original grade. You got a ham radio operator in a house. They can put that right on the top of their house, up 30 feet. So there's no restriction to have that kind of an antenna in a residential area.
I don't know as I've ever seen one that way, but it may be something we call out. That at the ham radio stuff, they're ground mounted 30 feet, or they can only go 30 feet total. Whether you mount it on top or not.
30 feet above the original grade.
No, but that's for your cell towers.
Oh, if they're one
And we need to clarify that one. Number 2,
Yeah,
let's clarify in there that that is for cell towers mounted on top of a building.
So just to point out, we also have up here in our applicability,
Oh, okay.
I forgot that one. Thanks, Katie.
Again, Katie, you can't leave.
She'll be running down the hall a lot.
She's doing that now, and I think she's tired of it.
Go through the training on the HR.
Okay, so this covers your amateur radio, which would be your ham operators and stuff.
So would you include like our stake as a radio net? Would
Yeah.
they fall under that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with a religious organization, they need to come to the city and get a permit.
Cell towers is the only ones I'm requiring to have the
Okay.
permit.
Okay.
Katie, could you go back to that where you were at just a minute ago at the beginning where there was just something that caught my attention there. So we have that exception says any tower or antenna that is under 70 feet in height is owned and operated by a federally licensed amateur radio station operator or is used exclusively to receive only antennas. So here you're giving them you're saying it can be up to 70 feet, right? So you got 70 here and you got 30 in the other one.
Good catch.
Unless that
I was
means off
asking
the
if 30
ground.
feet was enough on the other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, 30 won't be enough. I guarantee that on some of these towers.
What is it?
That's
Is it 70 off the ground?
From the ground.
Ground. Mhm.
And the 30, you said could be on.
Well, there was a 30 on top, but we were also looking at the antennas, ground mounted antennas at 30, which kind of fell under this one.
Two-story house over there.
So I,
already stated the 30
Sure,
feet
so-
on top of buildings. That was
So-
already the
yeah, we
limit.
just moved that.
And then we added that to the ground antennas as well.
Yeah.
So we copied that one over, but this one was already set at 70, but we can.
So
change
maybe
it.
we just take out the 30 ground mounted down below and stick with this one at the 70 and below.
And that's total
But-
regardless of how.
But maybe, yeah, add language 70 feet from ground.
Yes. Okay.
But if you look at something like the Cedars that has 4 stories, are they only 10-foot stories?
Yeah, they may be more. I'm not sure what
Because
they're
most of them are,
building,
12.
especially if they're putting trusses in
And
in
that,
their floors.
and that bottom floor where they have commercial stuff, that's probably a 20-foot plate.
Yeah, but on that one with a cell tower, it's 30 feet above. Now, if they're doing a private one, then they're gonna run into that challenge. Now, this doesn't count your regular, a Starlink or satellite dish or anything like that. We're not even, that's not even part of this. 'Cause those are private, yeah,
You don't need a permit or anything
No.
like that to install.
no. Only if they're hooking electrical up so that electrical comes in, make sure they do it right,
Okay.
which most antennas do not. So, okay.
So you need to change it right there probably.
She will. She writes them down and then she'll make the modifications as we go. Compliance. We have to make sure that it is staying within the requirements, setback requirements. This is where we start getting into our separations. Base of the tower shall be at least 100% of the height of the tower away from the nearest structure. Okay. Exception, accessory structures to the tower, accessory towers, and accessory antennas. So other stuff like that, they don't have to be that separation. The other one is commercial, industrial, and university district zones. The separation requirement may be reduced if the licensed engineer can stamp those plans as it's safe. So that's the only area we would reduce that 100% setback. So that protects our residential. But if that tower tips over, it can't reach a house in that way. If possible, they need to be designed to collapse within the leased or owned parcel. Setbacks, you just do the underlying zone setbacks in that deal. Easement restrictive lot covenants. Again, if you don't have enough separation between yours and the neighbor, you better get an easement from the neighbor or a restrictive lot covenant saying, I understand this, I accept it, and I'll allow it. And that stays with the land. Even if you sell it to somebody else, that restrictive lot covenant stays all the way through.
Now that covers a building, but it doesn't cover if they're within the, the height of the tower, if they're in that distance from the property line. This only covers if there's a structure involved. So do you have anything in there that limits where they can put it up to the property line so that it can't fall onto the next property?
Well, that's the
Even though it's-
100%. You have to have that 100% when it's up next to residential and stuff. In the commercial, then they don't have to, but if it's going to land in the neighbors or potentially, they have to give me permission saying, I accept the responsibility if it lands in my property. You do the same thing. If I come in here and build an apartment complex right here and one right here, and this property line's here, I don't have enough parking, he's got extra. And if I use this to meet my parking numbers, I sign a restrictive lot covenant as this guy saying, I give you permission to use these 10 extra spots. That never goes away unless the two of them together decide to resolve it. And if they sell the buildings, it stays with the property. We're doing the same thing with that separation. Once that restrictive lot covenant or an easement says I'm allowing you to use part of my land for that 100% spacing. Does that make sense or am I?
Yeah, but this only covers, it is, the separation does not say anything about property lines. It just says the height of the tower from the foundation of the nearest building.
Right.
If
I
you
think
added of nearest building
Scroll
or
up just a little
property
bit.
line.
The other way, sorry.
Well, it
Katie.
uses, the wording is there,
Property line
on the
limits
parcel.
restricted a lot more.
So it says that towers shall be designed to contain collapse within the leased or owned parcel. So that would be your property lines, right? That would be your.
Or if you've leased that or an easement or whatever to allow you to do that. So it protects it. They have to have that proof that if that tower is going to possibly land over there, you've got to give me permission from that landowner saying that it will happen no matter what. But in the residential ones, they have to have that separation. If it's going to land on their property, they still have to give me that permission saying, here's my restrictive lot covenant, saying I'm okay. I'm going to not build anything in this 150 feet so that if the tower tips over, it's protected. That's
Okay.
going to be a requirement.
Okay.
And that will protect that property owner from not
But-
having its land value go down because.
Am I seeing something
Well,
wrong?
or he accepts the
Yeah.
risk.
Because we've seen that just recently, so I just want to protect that.
Yeah, and that's why we did it, is we don't want that to happen in the future. I'm going, well, I didn't know this was happening. Well, you signed the paper. Oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess I did. Or no, I never heard about it. That's what I don't want happening is somebody coming in and going, you just took something away from me.
Well, that's kind of what we had on this one, so
Yes,
that's what we don't want to have happen again.
yes, I agree. You still have some concern, I can see.
Yeah, because it says the definition of separation is the base of the tower shall be 100% of the height of the tower from the foundation of the nearest building. Okay, I know. And then down here, it says in the event that the separation setback requirements exceed the parcel boundary. Well, if the only way it'll exceed the parcel boundary is if there's a building in place. That's the way I read it. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
No, it could be just land. What if
But it
it's an
doesn't
empty-
say that.
Doesn't have to. It just says at any point, if it exceeds the parcel boundary, then an easement or restricted lot covenant.
Yeah, but the
Has
only
to be.
separation requirement that you're not putting a setback requirement to.
No, I'm talking the 100%.
Yeah,
So if
the
it's
only time there's
150
a separation, or maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but you're defining separation as from the base of the tower to a building. That's what separation is.
Well, the
Okay.
separation on this one is I have a 150-foot tower. I have to have 150 feet away from. the
That's not
base
what
of the
that
tower.
says.
Yes, it does. That's what
Maybe I'll
the
see it
easement
wrong.
is.
Am I seeing it wrong?
Building.
In an event that the separation or setback requirements exceed the parcel boundary.
Yeah,
In that one case of 100, that's your setback.
but if there's not a building, if he's got it on the property line
Doesn't have
and
to
there's
be.
not a building on the next property line,
Doesn't have to be a building.
but that's what it says.
No, it doesn't. It's just
It-
parcel.
I see what you're saying.
But whereas the foundation of the nearest building, it
Yeah.
does say building. At the
Well,
beginning, it
we
says.
don't
building.
want it to land there, but you may have one sitting, and this is the case out here, there's a tower out in the middle of this field,
I
and
know,
it's next to property
I
line.
know.
So it's going to cross if it falls with no building, so he has to get an easement for that additional grant.
And I understand,
Whether there's a
I understand
building-
that's not what that says.
We're not beholden to just to this specific language. We can retool it, can't we?
I think
Yeah, we can.
property boundary would be better than building.
You have property,
Yeah, but in the.
But just to keep it all.
But five goes in conjunction with two.
We've gotta
Two covers
add-
it Next to a
we've gotta
building,
add
five
your
covers
property
it
line.
next to a.
Just change that to.
no, because, Harry, what I'm saying is we need to add property line up above.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
you also
exactly.
can be away from the building on their own parcel.
Right. Yeah, that's all you'd have to do is add or
That makes
opposite
sense.
boundary.
Okay, let's
Near
do
building
their
or
building
parcel
or
boundary.
parcel boundary.
It clarifies a lot better.
Yeah, okay.
Also, it doesn't.
Here's the problem. We do this so much looking at it. We start assuming a lot of stuff. And so that's why I bring it, and I want you to talk it through for me. So that we.
Well,
can
and maybe I'm just seeing it wrong. But
No, I
that's the
think,
way I read it.
I think you're
No, it
okay.
definitely clarifies a lot better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See, in our minds, we went, okay, we've covered it with the separation, 100%, also the building, also the parcel line. It wasn't in the same paragraph.
Yeah,
And it
it
didn't
covers the parcel
specifically
line on
call
number
it,
five.
so we'll drop that in there. Okay, let's go up higher. This is where we get into screening and security. We want this a fenced tower, so nobody can get into it easily. Kids will always find a way. This is the one area where we do allow barbed wire or concerted wire on the top to keep people out. But we want it buffered with privacy fencing, or they can come in and put a shrub boundary. That's what's up on Barney Dairy. We want something that eases that visual impact in doing that.
So you allow the Constantina wire, but you don't require it.
Is that on every tower? Even the city one? That's.
New ones, new ones.
It's the one right behind the PD that we inherited is not that way.
What we're saying is if they want to put that on the top, we will allow it. If they don't want to put it, all we require is a 6-foot privacy fence, chain link. Yeah. And the idea is we don't want kids trying to crawl the tower and get in there and cause problems. The buffer, we also want a 4-foot wide pervious surface around that. That helps with any water retention, and it also keeps possibilities of fire starting with generators and things like that. It keeps that safe.
So is that where the 6-foot fence would go then?
Yes, is around the outside.
It would be at least 4 foot wide, then that fence
No,
would
then
have.
they need a 4-foot outside the perimeter of that fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's clear, by the way. I don't see it. clear.
It says outside the
So you
perimeter
got
of the
the
compound. And your compound's whatsoever inside the fence.
You may want to put that word compound in that security sentence, so that when you read number 3, then they recognize that it's 4 feet outside of that fence, beyond that fence.
Beyond that.
Were you saying to put it again?
Yeah,
That makes
Put it
sense.
as number one.
just to connect it. So take number 1, security fencing not less than 6 feet in height shall create a compound for the tower antenna.
Surrounding
right?
the tower and.
Surrounding tower, whatever, and then
And then when they
perimeter
read-
buffer, a 4-foot wide pervious landscape buffer is required along the outside perimeter of the compound, right? Just so you know, at least when I read it, I see, okay, I'm gonna put a 6-foot fence and it's gonna be 4 foot away. It's gonna be a 4-foot perimeter from the center of my pole. Right, that's the way I'm reading it. But I think if you just take that word compound and include it in that first sentence somehow, so that they recognize that perimeter buffer is going to be outside of that 6-foot
We'll
fence.
take a look at it and
4 feet.
rewrite it. I see what you're saying. Do you get what he's, okay,
And I'm using the same terminology.
yeah.
Are we happy? I'm gonna get everybody else's opinion on this because I realize that I'm biased on this, but are we happy with privacy fencing, or do we want to require some kind of shrubbery or something around them to kind of dress them up a little bit? I prefer that, but that's just me.
Is that the landscape guy coming out? in
Yeah,
here?
it is. It is. But I just think they look a lot nicer if you
The
get.
only thing, problem with the land, I like the landscaping, but the water, they don't
Yes,
have
maintain
water
it.
and stuff there to deal with
Maintain
that.
it.
They gotta take care of that too. They
Yeah,
don't wanna put the shrub and just let it grow a bunch of weeds.
Well, the one over there in Barney Dairy, they've got a little water, just a little drip system.
Arizona landscape.
Where'd they get the water from there?
Zero.
They just.
Who pays the water bill?
Are they hooked up to water then? Oh,
See, our new requirements don't allow you to hook the city. up. You have to have secondary irrigation.
Oh, well, that's true.
So that makes it.
I do like having the landscaping, but I'm
Yeah.
not worried about the water.
And the one challenge I have with irrigation, you start irrigating, it's not just the trees that gets watered, it's all the weeds and everything else. So if you can do something that sterilizes it, I would love to see the shrubs around every single one of them as a buffer. I think it would be the best way to do it. But it also becomes a fire hazard in certain conditions. And then just the regular maintenance and upkeep of trimming them, shaping them. Yeah. Okay, that's where we ended up there.
And those tables will be removed. They just didn't turn red.
They would,
Right.
yeah, they would walk out.
You know, looking at all this, you just don't have enough to do.
Let me put it to you this way.
Wow.
Whole sections behind on stuff we were getting ready to present. Plus now we got to take all the state stuff and go see how it fits and everything on top of this. And it's going to be a crazy year. And
Are we requiring any type of building structure of how it looks there? Or can they just throw up a shipping container and call that their building?
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to require something at least represent the area it's in so it looks presentable?
I don't believe we allow shipping containers. It has to be a built structure.
I just want to make,
Because
to
we
me, it
don't.
should look kind of like what the
Look at
surroundings.
bushes around it, it wouldn't matter.
Touche, got you there.
Oh, that's true.
Rebuilding damaged, destroyed tower.
Then you'd see the shit.
Oh, let's go back up. Abandoned towers or antennas. We bounced around on this one. It's not in use and considered abandoned shall be removed and the site restored within 6 months of receipt of notice from the city of Rexburg. We don't want ones that are abandoned and dangerous. We need to have them come in and either take them down or bring them back up to speed.
How do we know if it's abandoned?
Yeah, how do we make that determination?
Well, that's going to be the tough part. If we can somehow track it. Usually it comes down to the point where nobody's maintaining the grounds, the tower. They usually don't have antennas because somebody's pulled the antennas off. Because if they're renting that tower out, they won't do it. The only one in the whole city that I can think may be abandoned is the old radio antenna.
Is that
out
still
there.
up?
It's still up.
And
I
that is
don't know
definitely
if
a
it's being
hazard.
used, yeah. If one of those cables snap, it's coming.
Is that
down.
like the one out by the Rexburg Cemetery? The old
Same
KRXK?
road. Yeah.
Really? That's still up, huh? Oh, I don't even.
Do we need to specify that in here then, that what that looks like? What abandoned, like, do we need to find that?
No, because I think there's so many variables that can actually say it. We've just got to be able to determine it's not being used, it's not being maintained to the point where we can come in and then find the owner and go, what's your plan?
And then they have 6 months from that time?
Once we notice them that it's abandoned,
Okay,
Have the definition of abandoned already in the code.
yes, abandoned.
Okay.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah. In our definitions.
Is it similar to like, if a building is considered, what's the right word, condemned?
Condemned. Well, condemned and
Yeah, it's
abandoned is two
different.
different things.
A little different?
You can abandon something, but condemns means it is not physically safe for.
It's in
anybody.
danger of collapse, okay. So that's not the requirement.
That
We're
should be a
looking
bunch
for
of
even
towers.
more stringent than that. If it's not being used and they're not doing whatever,
They're not
we
maintaining
need
that.
to make it, they need to
Needs to
take.
come down. She's gonna show you where in the definitions.
Without intent to resume, okay.
You have to, some things you have to be careful of because we also look at grandfathered. Some things will sit idle for a certain amount of time because they're in between what's gonna happen. The Frontier sign out there on where Frontier Pies used to be, looks abandoned, right? It's because they've been under construction for 4 years now. And their intent is to bring that up. Now they're sending us their proposals to put up on the signpost. And we called them many times, there's no time to come down. They go, no, we intend to as soon as we get the building open. So they're still making sure that it's structurally safe. We just haven't put the new face.
So that radio antenna that we were just talking about, is that within city limits?
No, it's still in the impact area.
Okay.
So it's a county jurisdiction, but yeah, it's impact zone. If you have an antenna that's damaged, destroyed, or something happens, they can come back in and rebuild it to the same standards. If they're gonna modify it, make it taller, bigger, a whole different thing, they're gonna have to resubmit it again. But as long as it's just replacing because of an event, it's just like if your house burns down, you don't have to come get approval to build it again. You can build it back exactly, even if it doesn't meet the zone code. Because it was built to code at one point, we let you build it back to the same code in that one. Okay,
Shrunk it down for me.
that's the end of that one.
Do they have to alert us that they are rebuilding that though? Is that like something they have to come let us know that they're rebuilding? Or
Yes,
can
and
they just,
almost every single one of them, even in current maintenance, if they're gonna come in and work on the antennas, they come in and get a building permit.
so they have to get a building permit? Okay.
Because they're 9 times out of 10, they're doing electrical work or structural work of some kind.
All
It's-
right.
Has to be
So it does
inspected.
inspections.
Okay.
Good question, though. Okay, that ends the tower discussion. Now let's bounce back to LDR 3. And let's go clear back to the start. We'll walk you through and show you the changes you guys requested to show you that we did get them in there.
Are you sure we
Well,
It took us an hour and a half to get through them.
all we want to do is show you. We want that transparency that we're doing what you ask us to do.
You've made it through
Everything.
everything you wanted to.
Everything we've covered. And
That you
maybe we
wanted
hold
to.
this one off until we get to that point of coming back, because I'm guarantee you we're coming with another work meeting.
Okay.
Because we're gonna have other changes and we can look through it.
I'm just looking at this. I think there's something we
Can I-
can discuss because.
Can I bring something up that's a little off? Well, not-
I know. I think we need to.
State statute allows local communities to require at the time of a zone change, a development agreement. If we pass an ordinance, we can require a development agreement at the time of the zone change.
You say there's a state statute that says this?
He's correct.
Okay,
So
Now-
So
We would have to pass an ordinance to make that work.
correct. It'd have to
Some
be-
communities have done that.
It'd have to be in our code.
Yeah, some communities have done that. I'm just throwing it out there as an item to consider.
So let me ask
yeah,
this.
there's two mechanisms under Idaho State Code in which you can require
Development agreement.
development agreements. The way that we typically do it, we do it, and then there is a subsequent condition you can place on zone changes. There has to be a pre-existing ordinance, local ordinance that authorizes it, and then has to be structured in such a way to avoid legal entanglements moving forward. The nature of those things, when you encumber land with some of those agreements, someone like our former city attorney would say that inherently they're always going to create legal entanglements. And so, but I'm happy to go through that analysis with you guys, and
I don't mean to have that discussion here today.
no, it's a
What
bigger
I'm saying is
discussion.
a work meeting, I think it would be good to take a few
Bring
minutes.
Keith in and we talk through that one.
Yeah.
Because that affects his department more than anybody's.
It does, because it places, and it's not,
Financial load on him.
so I guess I'll give one clarification though. That's typically, so what could be required in that development agreement isn't based in substance or like necessarily design of a project or
Infrastructure.
It's mostly
Yes.
intent.
it's not so much even intent of, but it's things that development agreements typically rely on, with infrastructure, with
sewer, water.
sewer,
road,
water,
park.
capacity, things
all
like that,
types of
where
things.
they're designated exactions amounts. And so it requires more on the front end from that standpoint. But again, the bigger thing and where the legal question can arise is when they abandon that project, we have encumbered a property. The subsequent owners, a parcel, when somebody's running a title search on that property, what is the resulting encumbrance and is it legally enforceable by a subsequent owner? That's where it's often challenged and that's where it can cause issues. So I've looked at it. I'm happy. Again, I'll
talk it through.
I can absolutely bring you, and again, I think it would be beneficial to likely, I'm happy to talk to attorneys of other communities that do that and talk about how they navigate those things and give you guys a presentation on what I find that way. And then I always think these are why some of the conferences that you folks go to at AIC, things like that are good because you
Even
can.
if it only required a specific density to be developed within that zone.
That's hard because it's sometimes just that isn't read as a development agreement. That's going as to a condition. And so then it's looking less like a development agreement and more as a condition. Conditioned upon certain.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to throw it out there. I think it would be worth having the discussion.
Yes.
To see if that could solve some of the issues that we've seen come up.
Which we're talking about. We can set that up in a work meeting later on.
Okay.
Great discussion. Thank you. Okay, Colin talked to me a little bit earlier about the question on the LDR3. We had talked originally about moving it down into low residential. Then we talked about in our work meeting about putting it in low and in intermediate. And Colin, explain your heartburn.
Well, we've changed it out of low, moved it up to intermediate to solve the problem. And it didn't solve the problem. Now we're moving them back down, which we're doing the exact same thing we had the problem before. To me, it's almost too big a jump. Somehow we got to split that or do something a little bit different. So it's not, because we're causing the same problem we had before by just moving it down, saying, okay, let's move on.
Okay, let me ask a clarifying question. What are the problems we're seeing? Having it in the low or having it in the high? Explain to me from your point of view.
It just
what's it
pushes,
causing?
it pushes up the higher density. In some areas, we want to leave a lower density automatically because it's in the zoning there.
Right.
And that's why we moved it up. And then all of a sudden now we're moving it back down. Like say, this is over many years before, it's even started before I got on the council.
Oh, it started long.
It's close when you was on the council. So I just think we need to look at that pretty intense and saying, okay, how can we solve this a little bit better than just move it down?
Or keep it in both because that's not solving the problem either.
Well, it is and it isn't.
Yeah, it
You're
can create
kinda-
new problems.
If you do it in the low residential, now, your example was what's happening across Highway 20. And LDR3 is being over there, the higher the 10, and increasing traffic and problems like that.
And throughout the whole city, it's gonna look at.
It could happen
in
the same thing.
future,
Right
I mean,
now, the
we gotta
real
look at
pressure-
20 year or whatever
Yes.
coming in the future.
Yeah.
I even told Alan, I said, maybe we need to split it and move, so they're not quite as much as 10. Move it, I don't know. It's
Do an 8 and then
That's
another
one
in
that
between.
maybe digest a little bit deeper and
So here's one question I would throw out. Define single family residences. What are the types of single family residences?
I don't think you can almost define that as much as you can define low
You can.
affordable housing.
Building
There's
code,
not a low affordable
building
housing
code
design.
spells it out specifically what a single family residence is.
Well, and one of the things we gotta keep in mind too is that's one of the reasons that the legislature is trying to preempt cities from doing a lot of this stuff is because they feel like we're getting too regulatory on, what kind of housing can go in different
Not
zones.
trying, they have.
They are, they've done it to us.
Yeah.
They've got more.
We almost got to the point where we couldn't do anything as far as density.
Alan,
I mean,
who's
they
that
can
law
do whatever they
that-
want, basically.
July
Didn't quite
25th.
get there, but it almost did.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there is one that's coming up. You have no power over density if it passes.
Yeah, that's one that
Yeah.
didn't get
And
through.
you know what they're.
It got passed in the House, but not the
It
Senate.
hadn't made
so
the
it's
Senate, but
got-
it's coming back.
I know.
And they
I know.
literally said that you can't deny his density any more than your highest density in your city for residential. Our highest is 42. So that would mean every zone could go to 42 units, and we couldn't stop that if that bill passes. We can't regulate the lot size. We can't regulate setbacks or any of that. We can't regulate any more than minimal parking. It's a scary bill.
It is.
It's scary.
And this last year has been a lot of scary bills.
Yes.
I mean, it's just amazing what legislature did on this.
I went to the National Planning Conference on the 24th, and we spent 4 days. And I sat through one meeting, and it was the two worst states were Utah and Idaho for housing. And they had the most bills written out of any state in the union trying to alleviate the challenges. And the one guy got up from Bloomfield, Utah, and he says, we came in, we thought we'd solve the problem. We said, okay, we're going to make lot sizes down to 30 by 60 so we can get small homes in here for starter homes. He says, yeah, we passed a subdivision. They started building. We go out there, 30,000 square feet on a 30 by 60. That's 1,800 square feet. They were doing 1,000 per floor and going 3 stories high. And they were up $500,000-$600,000. He goes, and that's where the legislature steps in and goes, why are you doing that? You may go down the smaller size, but you're not providing affordable housing. And so that's why the state's stepping in and going, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. Now, state's going way too far one direction. I don't think we have gone way this way. I think we're still hanging in there fairly close. But these are some of the things we got to be cautious of because they are going to come down the road. And they've got some pretty strong lobbyists that are pushing this. And we've got some strong people in the House and Senate that are also pushing this. And it's extremely difficult. One of the other things Colin and I talked about was we want to minimize the density across the road. Why would we limit growth on the other side of Highway 20? What are some of the things that we worry about? Connectivity. What else?
Because we have a freeway going right in the middle.
That's a big issue. It is. What else?
A lot of agricultural land over there.
Is that a problem?
Emergency services.
Emergency services, getting over that.
Because of the connectivity.
Yeah, but preservation of agricultural land is one of the reasons to increase density. I mean, maybe not out on the periphery, but within the city limits.
But there aren't amenities over on that side. So limiting the growth right now makes better sense in some ways because we need more amenities over there because of this connectivity problem.
How do you get amenities over there?
We've got to get businesses to come in and.
How do you get businesses to come in?
Change the zoning laws to allow it.
You gotta
More people come there.
We won't build the businesses first.
Yeah, it's like a school district.
The amenities follow the people rather than the people
Yeah.
following the amenities.
Now, you may have this weird situation where commercial right now is exploding in Rexburg. I mean, 3 years from now, you're going to look back and go, what happened to Rexburg? Then all of a sudden, you're going to have residential step up and go, well, cool, we got amenities. Let's go build out here next to these. Those things happen. School districts. I remember listening in a meeting, the guy says, we need to build a bunch of schools for the future growth. School board's going, we can't get bonds passed to do what we have to do. How are we going to build extra classrooms? We're kind of in that the horse before the cart. Which one, or the chicken and the egg? Which one comes first?
Well, and even when Winco came out over here instead of going over there, the people were here, but Winco landed there, not here. So a grocery store is needed. It's just landing in a different spot. So we need a grocery store to land in the spot where it's needed.
Well, it was part of all the, well, it's part of all the.
You can't dictate that.
Are we doing?
But where it's needed is very subjective too. For you, it's needed over there. For the people in St. Anthony, it's needed right where it's landed.
Well, but I'm saying with the connectivity problem, it's needed there. Once those diagonals were crossed and we couldn't get across the street, we were driving 30 minutes to go get groceries.
Mhm.
It didn't matter if we went north or we went south. It was easier to drive to Idaho Falls to get groceries because we couldn't get into town. So it is a huge problem. It is needed. It's hugely needed.
Yeah.
So there are amenities that aren't there that need to be there. It's just that where the business chooses to go, that's where the business chooses to go. And I get that. but it is needed.
So,
Yeah,
so
And we do
answer
have
me,
people.
answer me this, why were people fighting the commercial that was being approved out on
That's
12?
what I said. It's been the whole talk.
I don't think that they were fighting the commercial, they were fighting the MDR.
No, they fought the commercial too.
Oh, okay.
They were fighting both.
Okay, I
They
didn't,
didn't want either one to
The
happen. They
biggest
said,
fight was.
all they're doing is shifting, they're not adding, but they didn't want commercial there. We don't want that in our neighborhood. And I'm going, but you want amenities, this is how we get the amenities.
so I don't know who it was that was fighting the commercial, because anybody that I knew just didn't want the MDR. They wanted commercial, because
There
that's
were-
a perfect place for commercial.
There were a few people that stood up and says, we don't want the commercial over here.
I didn't hear that. I missed that.
We'd have to go back and look at minutes, but in every situation you run into this, and it's that situation. I'm here, I like the way it is. Don't change my world. We're all that way. I'm that way.
Oh, I love that there'd be commercial. I want the whole thing to
Yes.
be commercial.
Yeah.
I was like, it's perfect. It's right off the highway. People can come to our town. They can spend money.
So,
Perfect.
so that brings me back to what we're discussing here, the LR3. One of the challenges we do face is we don't want that higher density over there. Well, if your zoning or your comp plan allows those to happen, we have to be very careful on our reasons for denying or stopping anything. Because if they are not valid reasons and they can't stand up to common sense, you may end up being sued. Because they'll simply come in and say, this is a taking. It is happening all over the state, all over the nation, and people are getting a lot more particular. And I'm going to leave that up to Spencer to get into that more deeper, and he will explain to you some of that that's going on. Every one of these meetings I go to, there's a whole session on these type of lawsuits that are hitting. And we're not talking away. These are in Boise and areas close to us.
90% of them was Blaine County. Spencer said to me.
Well,
Blaine County.
That is what you said, right, Spencer? Is exactly what he's referring
Yeah,
to.
Blaine County get big time
Did you
They
read
did.
it?
and hated.
so those are the kinds of things we have to be careful of. So back to the discussion,
Oh.
LDR3.
They hit the Supreme Court fight
Bill,
about 20 times.
I'm new, so I just.
your opinions?
Well,
Value.
no, this is not opinion. I'm asking about master planning, right? So when we talk about, we have this huge community that got built out there. You've got homes, you've got single family homes, you've got duplexes, you've got apartment buildings, you've got all this stuff. And they've got some parks and stuff like that, but what are we doing? What do our codes say? What do we have in place so that we do say, you're going to build that many homes, you have to have X amount of you have to set apart X amount of property for Brolums to go in, or for what? I mean,
Our code does not do that.
well, I was a builder in California, and you, if you're going to build a community of more than 10 homes, you got to master plan it, right? You got to have these kinds of things included into the master plan, where you say, where's the space for the school? Where's the space for the store? Where's the right? These kinds of things. That's called master planning, where you're solving these things. You're not just leaving it up to wherever it's going to be. The other issue that I have again is, what percentage when we have these folks coming in and they're putting in literally hundreds of homes. From my perspective, with that many homes going in, there should have been enough tax money coming in to redo 12th and make it completely a 4-lane road, because of what the developers are paying, right? Instead of coming out of our.
Okay, you've gone through budget. Well, you're going to go through.
I'm going to.
Yeah. One of the key things that I have heard Keith and Matt tell me multiple times, at what point does housing pay its own way? Taxes that it gains supports the roads, the sewer, and the water. What level of density gets to that point where, okay, it's not costing the city extra money.
Right.
It's not until we hit into the 8, 10, 14 to the acre before it even breaks even. So anything less than that, it's costing the city extra money to maintain the amenities that are going into that. And you talk about, I think it would be great. I would love to master plan a whole community and be able to come in and say, I want corner stores here every so often. So people, I need to run down and get a gallon of milk. Okay, great. Or, a gas station every so often, those types of things. But if you're a developer and I come to you and say, okay, Bill, you've got 40 acres out here and you want to develop it, I want a 5-acre park in there. I want 10, 12 acres of commercial, And then I want you to dedicate 5 acres to the school district. But you're gonna build single family homes on the LDR too, 40 the acre, 60 the acre. Can you make it pencil?
Well, and that's, I mean, that's the issue. I think that's the thing that we have to look at that. You have to say,
And the school district,
because the reality is anywhere else, they go anywhere else in the country to build. And they're gonna have to do it.
Some places.
Well, California, maybe.
So-
California, but most of them don't.
But
But I'll jump on the other side of
Okay,
that.
you're on the
We were talking
developer
about
side.
this before, right? You go to, I was in Queen Creek, Arizona this last, or over spring break.
Yeah.
You get these planned unit developments that are amazing.
Yeah.
But these are multi-billion
Exactly.
dollar
No,
groups that are coming in.
No, no.
Idaho Falls, I saw, there's a Shelley 50+ community going in right now. That's the first one that we've seen that's actually planning things out. We're just too small, to grab.
We don't have
1,000
enough
plus
developers
acres.
to come in and do that type. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and.
But
so-
I guess the question I'm asking, we can't go back, right? But I think we're looking into the future. If we see that happening, if we see that that's where it's going, that's where it's headed, I think we need to be prepared. I think we need to look at it and say, I mean, I don't know. So you could probably give us numbers. Again, when you look at that community out there, have any idea how many homes and what's the population of that, of,
The other side of the freeway?
yeah,
That's what we were gonna say today.
Summerfield has around 500 homes.
Yeah.
500 units. That includes the townhomes, the twin homes, everything.
that's a pretty good sized development. That's a-
3.1
Well,
per
and
unit.
it's still to be
and
developed,
1,500
because they've got more that will
1,500.
And by
continue.
code, we are required to look at schools. It's right in our code that we have.
We
We're
do.
supposed to be looking at, and the school district said that several times in the meetings I've been in. Why aren't you looking at this? And I said, well, we can't force them, but we do look at it,
So what are they asking us to look at?
like what Bill just brought up.
Because we look at,
That we sit there and say, you gotta kind of plan the school here. You're putting in 500 or 700 homes. How many kids are gonna be in there to go to school? We need to build a whole nother, maybe 2 schools there. To be able
we
to
sit
build.
down with Randy Lords. We try to quarterly or at least semi-annually. Randy, here's what we're seeing coming in the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, to give him an idea of what's happening. Here's where these are happening. Right now, I have right around 4,800 homes, units proposed, under construction, or being platted for the city of Rexburg. That's new ones coming.
that's single family.
That's all,
No, it's
everything, from
everything.
apartments all the way.
Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah.
So this master plan that Councilmember Regan is talking about, that is our comp plan, is it not?
I was just gonna bring that up.
Because
Our
that's when
comp plan
we
is our
came in
master
and we
plan.
worked with them. That is our master plan, is to look at that and see. That's why I'm just so confused that people didn't want business. I just totally missed that. Cause I'm like, no, the whole thing should be business. It
There
just
should be
makes
areas- There
sense.
should be locations of business. You need to have neighborhoods. You need to have business.
You
And then you need to have mixed ones where people want the
You do,
business.
but
there.
right off of the freeway, businesses just make so much sense to bring people in.
That's where
and
they
then
wanna
for the
be.
residents to be able to run down, grab what they need, and head back home, whether they're walking or riding their bike, whatever it is.
So let's,
So,
all good talks, but we need to wrap up because we've got to get ready for.
Okay.
city
So I was
council.
just gonna say, if you look in our area, the closest thing we have to a PUD is Summerfield,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
It is.
Yep.
The neighbors love each other. The area down there, they're playing at the park. You have people who might not be able to afford the $600,000 home, right? But
They're in the town.
they're in a townhome or they're in a twin home.
With the hope of moving to the others.
Yeah. So, I mean, my
Having
big
this
thing
variety.
is having,
Variety,
keeping
yeah.
it in the ability for the low residential, following the comp plan that we took so much time to go through and sort through and go through these things. I think the best thing that government can do or municipalities can do is stay out of it.
As
You
much
know,
as possible.
You have a comprehensive plan. You're not gonna be able to tell which businesses to come in on the corner or which
You-
grocery stores. Like,
you can't
that would be great for you,
You
where,
want them to
if it's
come.
right there on the corner, but they're naturally gonna go by the highway. They're naturally gonna go by railroad tracks and
Yes.
things where the $1 million homes don't want to build. And so I just think leaving the options available and keeping it in low, I think it makes sense.
Low and in high, medium. Are you okay with it in both or do you want it just in low?
I like it
Well,
just in
well,
low.
if it's in low, they can build it in anything above that, right?
Yes, they can.
Yeah, so I don't know why we need to put it in.
It wouldn't need to
Well,
be in the, it's the density number.
It's because,
That's it.
yeah, it's because city council forever ago had problems again and again. That's why they pushed it to the MDR, to the medium, to the intermediate.
Yeah.
There were enough that they changed it. And if we hop in and put it right back, we just undid all of what experience they had
Well,
when they changed it.
Explain why.
We're up against that one, let's go.
Yeah, let's,
Explain.
we're gonna have to move this to the next meeting.
You know why.
Okay, thank you all, appreciate it. We'll move to the next one.
We'll go and slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, wanting
So that's why I thought.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would like the video all the one here. Response. I don't wanna.
That's what I. Then I looked at.
I know, well, it.
So
Anytime, so she's throwing in.
Yeah. Not a big time.
Like heavy on. Yeah, we'll be able to have that.
Yeah, hopefully it's.
Deb went to go find out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But
So.
Buddy.
And. There, and at the same time. And then. Yeah.
So.
I do have a quick question about.
This council,
It's always red. It's just.
And then I also have public works, that's.
So one of the problems.
Still wait for the change, so.
Yeah.
And then the mayor will.
If. Yes.
And then like whether or not they want. That recommendation apply from.
So that's why.
From our,
Does that matter where I sit now?
and I think that's basically it. So, basically,
No, her.
so, it's not what you're doing.
Not what I'm doing. Well, I guess it just has to be.
You can look, some ways say this is.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna go sewer.
We just have to say that. I need to do that.
Just as.
Like.
That was just call.
Town hall.
It's like the town hall, you know? Yeah.
It's cool. Cool. I don't know, I get up.
Well, you guys should be good.
I'm missing this. Social media.
Well, you read the article, you think that's what we're doing. Yeah, you got that short stuff.
I mean, we saw them.
Yeah, it's good to get that money, because everybody can do stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, up there, because they'll say, oh.
I guess, you know, it's just like.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's how you, because it's like.
Research. Yeah, would you offer the opening prayer for us?
See if you got, see if she was.
If I. Okay. Well, yeah.
Yes, I'll move. I'm gonna slide down and not be as slow.
Well, I want to sit over here. That'll be a great thing.
That's a good.
That one. The other is.
Okay, there we go. Right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'd like to welcome you here to our city council meeting of May the 6th, 2026. And We would like to start out our meeting this evening. Well, just for your information, I know some of you who were waiting out in the hallway. We were having a planning and zoning and city council work meeting for the last hour, going over some of the proposed development code amendments and things like that. So this is a continuation of that meeting, but we would like to go ahead and start this part of the meeting with a prayer and a pledge to the flag. I've asked Council Member Reeser to offer the opening prayer for us, after which Council President Erickson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Council Member Reeser.
Father in heaven, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to meet together and to discuss the needs and the concerns of our city. And we are so grateful for this land that we live in. We're grateful for this community that we have, and we're grateful for the good people who inhabit this community, and ask that thy blessings be upon everyone within our community, that we might be able to get along well together, that we might respectfully listen to each other and our viewpoints and our concerns and our attitudes. And we are grateful that we live in a land in which we are free to do that with each other, in the hopes that we can come to common understanding and work together. Father, we're grateful for the blessings that thou hast given unto us, and we're grateful for the freedoms which we enjoy. And we ask for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all very much. All right. At this point in time, we'd like to go ahead with the roll call of our council members, please. We'll ask Mariana to do that.
Councilmember Colin Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Reeser.
Here.
Councilmember Riggins.
Here.
Council President Eric Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Tijen.
Here.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate that. And Councilmember Johnson is excused from the meeting this evening. So, okay, we will move to item number 4, which is to welcome a new employee to our city council, or to our Rexburg city team, Josh Heaton. Josh Heaton. Let's see. Is Josh here? Did he make it tonight? Maybe not. Okay, I have not actually had the opportunity to meet Josh yet, so I'm not sure who he is, but apparently he's not here. So we'll have to move that to next time. Well, we do have also Brennan Batten. This is Brennan right here. Okay, Brennan, thank you. Would you come on up and tell us a little bit about yourself and just introduce us to the council members, please?
Yeah, my name is Brennan Batten. I'm from St. Anthony, 2023. Thankful for the opportunity to work for you guys.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, we appreciate the work that you're going to do, and we're happy to have you on our Rexburg team. Let's give Brennan a hand. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming tonight. Okay, item number 5 on the agenda is a time for public comment. This is a time for items that are not on the agenda. If anyone would like to make any comments about items not on the agenda tonight and make us aware of things, please come to the podium and state your name and address. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to comment? Yes.
My name is Sheree Barton. I live at 1076 Green Willow Drive. As a citizen who tries her best to stay informed about matters in our city, I have a question. Is it legal to have incorrect zoning and comprehensive maps on a city's website before, during, and during a rezoning hearing? Can a hearing be reopened based on the fact that incorrect information was used during a hearing displayed on the screen while decisions were being made about zoning? When a planning and zoning meeting is held, a quorum of 5 is needed. 5 of the 10 commissioners need to be present. The city's webpage states if commissioners join virtually, they need to be able to hear the proceedings clearly, and those in the hearing need to hear them. What happens when one person only responds about 10% of the time, and when the microphone is on, it sounds like they're at the Fun Factory having a party? Could a planning and zoning meeting be reopened if this happened? I would just like to state for the record, we came away from the process feeling unheard and dismissed.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a comment there, Council?
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, again, issues that have been raised by constituents. I've done an analysis, looked at these things. Issues being raised specifically, I can't speak to nothing has been brought to my attention about if there is a quorum. That's new that I'm just hearing right now. Again, we did, and Mr. Parkinson could talk, the meeting did start a few minutes late, and we are actually grateful for it. There was a couple individuals on vacation. And again, there was a number of calls, assurances made that they were able to participate and hear and participate in the meeting. Again, the issue being related to maps, it relates to an online GIS display layer, not the underlying legal designation adopted by ordinance. Again, the illegally controlling action was the ordinance previously adopted and recorded by the city. The comprehensive plan that was associated with the mapping and the data, those will go through amendments over time, and the city maintains those through internal GIS and shapefile processes. The generalized images showed publicly always or publicly or referenced in GIS as a visual reference tool and not the controlling legal document itself. Again, and I think also, and importantly, the substantive discussion during the last hearing, in my review, accurately reflected the actual land use designation and the application before the body. They discussed and evaluated the proposal on its merits under the correct designations and the applicable standards. Based on my review, there's no indication that notice was defective, that the body lacked jurisdiction, or that the deliberations were based on incorrect legal standard. As a result, I've notified the mayor and said that there is no legal basis. I make the same recommendation to City Council that there is no legal basis to conclude the hearing or meeting was invalid. Was there any other questions on that, Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, is there any other public comment?
I had Brent Harris, 1125 Woodison Lane, Rexburg. I was at that same public hearing, and I was a little concerned at the end of the hearing. And if you listened to that, one of the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission who came in via Zoom was what I would term very rude. He called people who had testified hypocrites and used other language that I thought, everyone that testified, against the topic, I thought was very polite, very respectful, which they asked us to do. But at one of the members of the committee via Zoom, I thought was very rude, and I just don't think that should happen. They may disagree, that's fine, but to call people hypocrites is not. I don't think that's right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that comment. All right, is there any other comments on items that are not on the agenda tonight? Anyone online? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item number 6, which is our staff reports. We'll start out with our finance report with our CFO, Mr. Matt Nielsen.
All right, good evening. So this first one included in your packet is a budget adjustment, and Deb's going to pull that up. And then, so this is something we talked about many months ago when the ice rink came in. So we were able to get the final appraisal back on the facility that was donated, and it came back at $5,144,000. And then we'll be filling out the IRS tax form, working with the donor in the coming week. And then we're looking at another deed recording we'll have to do just to get it in our name. So this budget adjustment, even though there's no dollars crossing, has to be done per GASB rules. So it basically just shows the contributed asset as a capital asset, so I can begin to capitalize it, and then a contributed revenue, basically. So.
All right, excuse me. So we, at this point in time, we need a motion to approve this budget adjustment for the ice rink facility contribution. Is there such a motion?
Mayor, I'll make that motion to approve the budget adjustment for the the ice rink
Okay,
facility.
thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Second by
Second
Council.
that.
Oh, okay, thank you. Seconded by Councilmember Riggins, but thank you for the effort, Councilmember Tejan. All right, is there any further discussion or questions about this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Thank you, that motion passes, so we will go ahead and make that budget adjustment. Item number 2, regarding the city's procurement procedures.
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to this. There is a resolution. I'm not going to go through the resolution. We do need you to make a motion on that, but I'm going to go through this summary instead. So what this is, this is a document that we've had for many, many years in our handbook. And so it's what we basically give to employees who are doing purchasing or bidding for the city. Last year, the state updated the 2 major statutes regarding purchasing of services and personal property, and then public works construction projects. So we went in and, of course, made updates to that. The major thing is they really increased their limits as to when you have to formally publish. And I'll just start right at the top. So we do have some city policies. So those first 3 rows are really things that we've had in place since I've really been here 20 plus years, to be honest. The big change is that we are saying that you don't have to have bids if it's under 10,000. We're still saying to do local preference, so we try to buy local. And then, if we do go out and we happen to get bids locally, but we can get it significantly cheaper other places, the mayor or the chief finance officer can approve that. And then kind of the same thing on public works. I'm going to bounce between the 2. And then on the 10,000 to 50,000, we do require 3 oral or written quotes or bids. The only time that there can be an exception made is if it's a large price difference, or if it's approved by either myself as the CFO or the mayor. And then on construction projects, the public works director can approve that if it's under the 50,000. And sometimes that's because time is of the essence. Sometimes we've already bid it out and we have contractors that we can have go get those projects done. Yes.
Matt, if you could, as you're going through this, since this is an amended policy, different than what's been in the past, if you could just kind of highlight the areas that.
You turn on your mic.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh,
If you could just highlight the areas that have been
the big
changed
changes
as you go through
Yeah, I
it.
can do that.
Thank you.
I don't have the old one in front of me, so I'll try to remember the amounts. But the first one used to be 5,000, and so that's going to 10,000. And then we used to be able to approve. I believe it was up to the 10,000, either myself or the mayor. And now we're saying between 10 and 50,000. And then we're saying from the 50 to 100,000 range, that one still requires the quotes or bids. But then if there is an exception made, it would have to be by both myself and the mayor. And then that one on the Keith side, or the public works side, would actually need to be required by all 3 of us. And so we would all need to get together. Now, here's where the big change.
Matt, I have a question.
Yeah.
So on the quotes, what if 3 cannot be, like, is there an exception if you can't get 3, if you can only get 2, or?
Yeah, and that happens a lot, actually. And so we seek to get 3, Sometimes we can only get two, sometimes we only get one because they're unresponsive. And so as long as they've made that effort and they can prove they've made that effort, we make those exceptions.
So is that approved by you or the mayor in that instance?
Does that include, sorry, what?
Is that approved by you or the mayor in that instance then?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And the process for that is the person trying to procure the item actually emails it to me and or the mayor, and then we keep a written email that goes to the accounts payable, just so that we have all that documentation of how it was approved.
Okay.
Okay, so the next two are really the big changes. So with the what we call semi-formal bidding per state law, that is now gone up to anything between 100 and 250. I believe it was 50,000 before that it started. And anyways, that one, you can do it really, you could send an email out, you could call the individuals to get bids. And then what happens is you have to accept the lowest qualified bid or reject all bids. And then the last one is if it's a project over 250, which I believe this was over 100 on the old one. That one you actually have to formally put it in the newspaper. And of course, with all of these big projects, the over 250, we also put it on our website. We have a whole bid process. And then we also keep lists to be able to send it out to vendors for these big projects and procurements, just to make sure that we get the most bids that we can. So any questions on that? I know that's pretty quick.
Matt, just a question on especially the first three. The last one I don't worry about because it has to come before the council. But those previous ones, do we have some protections in place? Even when you're spending under $10,000, because like the first one says, except due to large price differences, then it's got to be approved by you and the chief. So in those, do you have some? Are there? The head of a department with and 2 or 3 people who are signing off on it rather than just kind of, hey, I like you, so I'm giving you the bid and kind of thing.
Yeah, great question. Spencer he said he can speak to it, but I will add that, these need to still be budgeted items as well.
Okay.
And so that's another layer of approval that really comes from you as you adopt the budget. And so keep that in mind as well. And then, yeah, we're not just saying, hey, you're my buddy, I'm not going to require you to go get bids. I have very regular conversations with people where I'm like, nope, sorry, you got to go get 2 more bids. And so we're still encouraging them to always go do that.
My perspective, that's secured.
Yes.
So to that end, I think that anytime that there's leeway given in our ordinance, that there's checks and balances and internal scrutiny that should be applied. So it's funny you brought that up. I had that exact conversation on Monday in staff meeting where I notified department heads that with these changes, and again, I've reviewed these changes, went through these changes with Matt, and they're legally defensible. But with that, I am going to increase, essentially, I'm not going to call it an audit, but internal structure or checks. I spoke today with Terry about the same issue, making sure that the plan that I have in place is defensible from our handbook and from an employer right standpoint. But again, anytime I think it's incumbent, and this council has made it very clear to myself and to others that you take the use of funds and the appropriate use of funds very seriously. And so given these kind of, again, it's still more restrictive than the state. But again, with that change will be an accompanying level of scrutiny that comes from the legal department and will just add to my reputation as the no fun police around here, because I'm sure that they'll love me when I walk in there and start pulling random receipts. So.
And being through the process, being a lieutenant there and going through this for many years, even an officer or anybody down there, it goes through, there's chain of command, goes through to the department head. It's definitely a major step to go through. It's not just, we definitely look at spending the funding and the taxpayers' money very seriously and very careful. So it's definitely, as it goes up, it's not an easy thing.
I appreciate that explanation. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You know, Matt, just since we're talking about bidding and things like that, I would like to just be fully transparent and make it clear that some of the Facebook posts that have gone on about our tree grant and my landscape company doing all that work and stuff are not true. My company, since I've gotten this job, has not bid on any city jobs any way whatsoever. So I just want to make that clear to the audience here and to the public. I want to go on record as saying that my company has not benefited in any way from city business since I've been on the council or the mayor. So I just want to make that clear.
And then Eric, I did find it. So the old number, that top row was under 5,000. The second row was actually 5 to 15,000. And then it was 15 to 50,000 on the third. And then on the state side, they had one that was 50 to 100 and another 100 to 200 and one over 200. And so now it's just the 100 to 250 and then the 250 or over 250.
So Matt, is the purpose for this to try and streamline the process a little bit? I mean, it just seems like we're loosening the requirements a little bit. Is it been a problem?
I think there's a couple things. I definitely think the under 5,000 was super inefficient. And that 5,000 has been in for a very long time. 5,000 when that got put in place is probably a $12,000 item now. You know what I mean? Just because of inflation. And so I think that there is some form of efficiency. There are, you'd be surprised sometimes how hard it is to get 2 or 3 bids on specific items, especially when you get into the public works arena. And so I think having the ability for the mayor, the public works director, and the CFO to be involved, we understand those categories. We deal with that all the time. And so sometimes we already know the answer and we're just wasting a lot of time trying to get those bids. But the biggest thing is we wanted to make sure that our policy matched the state policy, which was totally different from what we used to have. So,
right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So then at this time, if there are no other discussion items on that, we need a motion to approve resolution 2026-06.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that we approve resolution 2026-06, amending the city's procurement procedures.
All right. Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second by Councilmember Reeser. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that resolution passes. We will go ahead and make those adjustments.
okay.
Thank
And then we'll add it to the handbook and then it goes out to all the employees just so they'll get notified.
Okay. All right, thank you. Staff reports item number B is the police report by Josh. I don't see our police chief or Gary here, so maybe they'll be here later or
They were coming back from the chief meetings over
meeting?
in Sun Valley.
Oh,
So I don't know
okay.
if they made it back or
May not
not.
have made it.
I told them I'd cover.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll have,
I don't have a ton to add. I was going to say that, we sent these mailers out and we have quite a few extras. And so if you guys have people asking you questions, I figured I'd leave some of those if you wanted to take them, because that directs them to the webpage. But one thing I do want to bring up is I think that a lot of people, they had a great question. They said, well, what does the 2028 tax year mean? And I don't think a lot of people actually know that answer. And so what it really means is, so if somebody came to you now and said, hey, I just made my first payment, my first half of payment for my taxes last December, that is actually the 2025 tax year. So you get notified in November, you make your first half of the payment is due in December. So really the second half of the 2025 tax year is actually due in June of 2026. So fast forward, what we're asking on the ballot is that we wouldn't put it until 2028, which means that they're going to get notified in 2028. And I think that even I and some of us misrepresented that because we thought it was 27. But the reality is you'll get notified in November of 2028, first half due in December of 2028, second half due in June of 2029, so it gives you an idea of, how far out that is, which is great because there's multiple school district bonds that come off, and then the library bond comes off actually in 2028. And so you would have 1 year where they're both on there and then library comes off. And that was the intent for us to have some of those bonds come off, just to reduce that tax burden or property tax burden to the taxpayer. So I think that's important to understand. So we've had a lot of questions in our meetings, like what's that timeline look like? So I'm not going to get into a ton of detail, but I've provided for you kind of what that looks like. I mean, essentially, if the public passes it for at least almost the next year, you're going to be in design phase and estimating and bidding out phase, right? And then the next question would be, we would look at our cash flow. So we've been setting aside cash. We have some reserves. So we would basically then go out, look at our reserves. We would try to time it with the construction of that project. And then what we can do is we would just take out what's called a bond anticipation note if needed for cash flow. And then you could actually still begin your construction. April's probably on the aggressive side of 2027. But sometime between there and summer, you'd probably want to start that project because you want to make sure you have that earthwork done before winter hits, right? But anyways, then as far as certification goes, you can see you'd actually certify that in September 2028. And the first payment that the city would actually make for principal and interest would be in March of 2029. And so anyways, I just wanted to kind of clarify that. I think it's good information for you to understand and for the public to understand. And it really helps us achieve that goal that came from that survey, right, of trying to reduce that tax burden. So.
Okay. Mayor,
yes.
Matt, just briefly explain, just so the public understands and everybody understands the difference of going to the 15-year to the 20-year. I think that's a major savings and major understanding that we're looking at trying to not burden the taxpayers.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have the number right in front of me, but essentially what it is that extra 5 years, I mean, it really does two things. It really increases the total interest that you end up paying. And then you're paying 5 more years, right? And so when we looked at how much the difference was, because I think I don't have the number in front of me, but if we even went to the police bond page and pulled it up, there's an example there of the average home price. And if I remember right, it's around $150 to $60 a year. And if you think about the difference between the 15-year and the 20-year, it was like, if I remember right, it's like maybe 140 or something like that. And we just felt like, $15 to $25 difference per year, it wasn't really worth it to extend it out another 5 years and pay, millions of dollars more in interest. And so that's why we went with the 15-year. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
Matt, my question was, have you done an analysis of what the difference would be if we paid off, if a school bond's going to disappear, the library bond's going to disappear, versus what the police bond would be?
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden now that 140 or so that you were just talking about just shrinks, right? Because you're no longer
Yeah.
Depending on the other ones.
So you do the math for me. I'll give it to you. So in 2025, so remember the second half of that's due in June of 26. Madison has their $40 million bond coming off that is about $537,000 a year. So that's 537. They also have in 2027 coming off their $19.5 million bond that is about $1,123,000. So you add those two up, 1.6, 1.7 million there. They also have that's coming off this year, or at least it comes off in 25, but of course that's not due, like I say, till June 2026. Their supplemental levy, of course, they are putting that back on. And so that's back on for the voters to decide on. So that one may or may not change. And then the Madison Library is about 283,000 a year. So you're probably close, even if the supplemental levy goes back on, you're a couple $1 million that comes off by 2028. And then our amount is about 1.37 million for the police bond. So.
Okay, any other questions or comments about the police bond? Okay, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. All right. All right, item C is our Public Works Report, Mr. Keith Davidson. Item number 1, a surplus item.
Surplus. Thank you, Mayor. So we have a couple items that we would like to surplus. One is a 1997 Ford Ranger pickup, and then the other one is an E-Z-Go battery operated golf cart. And so we're just seeking council's approval to surplus these items.
All right, any questions about these items?
I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah.
We didn't want to keep the 1997, right?
It's a classic.
All right, I would entertain a motion then to.
Yes, I'm very familiar with both of these vehicles, and I'll make the motion to surplus both of them.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Mayor, I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Riggins. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will go ahead with that surplus. Item number 2, LID construction bids.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor. So we had the bid results. The bid opened yesterday for LID 55. We had 4 bidders on there. JM Concrete was our low bidder at $3,294,540. And so we're seeking council's approval to award to JM Concrete on that amount. It also, based on our estimates that we sent out to the property owners, overall, it was about 33% lower than those estimates that we sent out. Now, some were higher and some were less than that 33%, but on average or so.
Okay. All right. All right. If there are no questions, are there any questions about this?
I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Have we ever dealt with JM Concrete ever before?
Yeah.
And they have done a great job for us and everything like that.
Well, there were some things that went a little slow, but we didn't have a problem with the product at the end, but there were some timing issues that we'll be having definitely some discussions with them on.
And did we put any time frame or specifications so we know they will meet at this time?
Yeah, so those are in the contract documents. Can't remember the specific dates off the top of my head, but and then there's do you remember them?
Yeah, it's
200 days.
calendar days.
Calendar days on that. So
6 months.
yeah. So we have those in place, and then we have liquidated damages that can occur after that. And obviously there's things that can come into play there that we give them extra days on if there's weather related events or things of that nature or unforeseen things that come up. But generally, yeah, we will be having a discussion on those.
And you feel good about going back to this GM Concrete then?
Yeah, we don't have a reason to throw out their bid. So.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve this item. Is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve an award that's bid to JM Concrete for $3,294,540.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Council President Erickson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That motion passes. Let's move on to item number 3.
All right, so item number 3 is a grant agreement with the Idaho Water Resources Board. And so this grant, it's a 50-50 match. And so what we've received this grant for is to take Porter Park off of our culinary system and move it and use water out of the canal system. So we're going to use surface water for irrigation of that park, which I think will be beneficial for our community.
Okay, any questions about this particular item from anyone? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to move forward with this particular item.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve contract number 9097, this water conversion grant.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Reeser. All right, any further questions?
Riggins, he seconded.
Oh, sorry. Councilmember Riggins seconded it. Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will go ahead with that and
Thank you.
receive that grant money. Any other questions for Keith before we let him sit down?
I'm gonna make one comment. With all this wind that we've had coming up, and you see a lot of our street lights, the red and green lights, the cover.
You're talking about the back plates on
Yeah.
them have come off.
Kind of
Yeah.
heading towards St. Anthony.
Yes.
Do we need to replace them to make sure the citizen can see that light, or I know they're there for a reason, but I know a lot of them.
Yeah, it just helps out, especially with the reflective. Yeah, those are things that we need to look at replacing. Some are we getting with the state on those. So anything on State Highway 33, but on those other ones that involve us, yes, we want to be replacing those.
And then one more comment.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
It's a bad word. I'm gonna bring it up. I've talked to you about this. The potholes on Main Street for the state. Have they got up? I still see the one over here by Walgreens to get
Okay.
them.
Yeah, I'll
patched.
follow up with them because I did have that conversation with their maintenance.
They kind of
foreman.
came the last like 3 days. I haven't seen it in the last 3 days,
Okay.
but
Check it out where you're looking at and then let me know.
okay.
And if it's
The
not
one over here, you
filled,
could take a car out, but I just,
yeah.
okay. I'll look
So,
at that.
okay.
I know that's a bad word, so I
Mhm.
really want to say that.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank
Thanks.
you, Keith.
Just a heads up for you, we'll be bringing that capital improvement street plan for your approval on next council meeting. So maybe if you've had a chance to look through it, or if you have any comments, let me know and then we can move those forward. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Item number 7 is the mayor's business. Item number A is to ratify Mr. Chad Richards as a member of the airport board. Chad is has been a member of the community here for a lot of years, part of our construction community. He was one of the foremen or folks in charge of the Rexburg Temple construction, worked for Jacobson Construction at the time. And I got to know him as part of that construction team. And he now, since when they finished the temple and told him he needed to move back to Utah, he refused because he decided he wanted to live in Rexburg. So he actually got a new job with Headwaters Construction and has been living here in the community ever since and working with that company. So he has expressed an interest in being on the airport board and helping with that particular part of the city and county. The city airport, of course, is a city county owned facility, and we have representatives from both the city and the county on that board. Council member Colin Erickson is our council liaison to that board. So at this time, if there are any questions about this item, I would entertain a motion to ratify Mr. Chad Richards as a member of the airport board.
I'll make that motion to ratify Chad Richardson's to the airport board.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Council President Erickson. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, we will go ahead and notify the board of that ratification. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Item number 8A is the planning and zoning recommendation to approve a rezone from rural residential 2 zone to low density residential 2 and low density residential 3. We've got Mr. Alan Parkinson, our planning and zoning director, here to tell us about this item.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Oh, okay. The property is located out on 12th West. Did you want to see parcel view or are you okay with the map? Just as it shows, this is what was published. Property is the Steiner Parkinson property, located almost directly across from the church house, right next to Summerfield in there. The applicant has asked to rezone this. The back 6 acres approximately, he wants to take to LDR3. It is currently comp planned as intermediate, which this is the lowest that you can grant in that zone. Then he would like to bring the remainder of that to an LDR2 is the request that he wants to do a single family in there. Now, LDR2 can be single family, twin homes, or duplexes. That is all. LDR3 does allow those same things plus townhomes. So those are the types of homes that can be built in there. Staff looked at it, reviewed it. We had recommended it for approval to P&Z. P&Z reviewed it, and they have recommended it to you for approval.
All right, any questions for Mr. Parkinson? Yes.
Sorry, I was getting the map up on my pad here when you were talking, and I missed it. What did you say types of homes could be in LDR2?
Single family detached, twin homes, or duplexes.
Duplexes, twin home, okay.
That is it.
8,000 square foot.
7,256.
Just under 8,000.
Yes.
So that's
per lot.
1/6 of an acre or so?
Yes. Because you got 6 per acre is the density that's allowed in that zone.
Okay.
Alan, tell me about the connectivity between the meadows and the parcel there to the north, and then also from LDR2 both out to 12th West and into the Willowbrook subdivision. Tell me what city's going to require there.
City's going to require connectivity to those other parcels. They have to have 2 ingress egress accesses once they exceed 30 units per acre. So that is part of the thing that will happen. So we also require that between subdivisions, which also slows down people having to drive out onto the main road, come around and drive back in to get to somebody that's 100 yards from their house. It reduces traffic on your main roads. It also is for safety of EMS being able to get through into different areas. The Meadows at this point only has 1 access. And so we are trying to figure out how to make that work, to make that connectivity into this parcel that is being asked to be rezoned.
You're talking about to the north?
It would be on the north end, on the west side is about the only option that has the possibility of that working.
Okay. And the question I have on that, looking at that, I drove out there and there's really not enough room it's not a city street. There's one room for 1 car with the parking they have there right now to do that connectivity to the other property. The way I understand that, we don't have to force the owner to the north to have that connectivity. They can have emergency. They have a gate there that they can open the emergency services and go through. It doesn't have to be a street that all those people go north.
Like
I mean,
to me, gate or something.
To me, that kind of, it helps out the Meadows, but it definitely detrimental to his subdivision or this new look in the subdivision if we force him to make that in, as I looked at what's built out there right now. Because I talked to Alan about this. A very high concern to me is, okay, we solve a problem with the Meadows, but we cause a huge problem to the north as we open that up. So we can have a lot of different things there. That's something to discuss later with the developer.
Come in your platting process.
As a platting, it can be emergency gating. It can be so they don't have everyday access that the fire department and emergency service can get through. there is a safety reason for have one on the south, but something we can look at.
Okay. Right. Any further questions or discussion?
Yeah, the question, I had a question about the meadows themselves. Are those two city streets? I think it's Countryside and.
All private.
So those are not city streets?
Those are all private roads inside there.
So how can we require connectivity because we don't own the streets?
We do that with everything. We do it between businesses. We want connectivity between parking lots. We want connectivity between subdivisions, just to create that ability for people to transpose or for emergency services. It's in our code that calls for that connectivity.
Okay, so we're not going to have a dedicated second exit out of the meadows through this parcel?
It would be a private road that would have to be maintained. And here's where it comes down to. These are decisions that are made during the plating process where we come in, fire department will look at it and go, what do I need to make sure I can protect the people in the meadows? How do I get that connectivity? Keith will also look at his and go, what do I need to make sure that I'm getting the proper connectivity for streets? Those are decisions that are made at that point.
We'll address them then.
We'll address them in those meetings.
We get there for, okay.
Anyway.
To that end, just quickly, and then any requirement that would be placed upon a developer is analyzed through an exaction or essentially a takings analysis from legal. And there's that conversation that takes place. But quickly, just before this council gets into deliberations, just one quick note for the record. Council is aware that one, possibly two emails were received after the public hearing has been closed. These communications have been received and disclosed. The applicant has been made aware of them because they were submitted after the close of the public hearing. I'm advising council to not consider or rely on the contents of those emails during deliberation or any motion or approval for or denial of this application.
All right, any further?
Yeah, I'd just like to so I went into the packet and tried to read, and I saw the email that had been sent to the mayor. I saw the other emails that you had included in the packet and so on. And then I went in and took a look at the consideration for approval. And my concern and I guess the only answer I want here, right, is that that as these decisions are made about road capacity, public services, and so on and so forth, that they not be based on speculation or hearsay, but that we have that we actually have evidence. And again, some of the concerns is that 12th is a very busy street, that it can't handle more, all these things. So Alan, I just want to know is, do we have any official studies of, how many vehicles actually 12? I don't live in that area. I don't know. Right. I know what it used to be like before the light went in. Right. It was crazy. But now that the light is in at the high school and it flows and stuff, so I guess my question is I want to make sure that our residents and we are making a decision according to, as the law says, right, the not speculation evidence, that we're looking at it and saying what we have here will serve this community.
Keith, this is a question. When we get to roads, I'm going to let Keith answer that question simply because his responsibility in reviewing these types of deal is what evidence do I need to look at and say I'm going to approve this or not?
Yeah.
And so Keith can better answer that than I can.
Yeah, so we require traffic impact studies, right? So we've had several traffic impact studies that.
But not prior to development, just in a rezone.
Well, yes.
Oh, but for all the others.
As the development comes in,
okay.
Right? Not on the zone, but as the development comes in, plating process takes place that we know what's happening in that location. We require a traffic impact study that looks at the intersections, the street capacities, things of that nature. And we have certain things that we look at. So like for traffic impact studies, you have levels of service A, B, C, D, E, F. And when you look at that, F is like gridlock. And so we have where we say it needs to be able to meet a level service of C, right? And so what they do is they look at the increased impact from that development at the different intersections that we're looking at and on that road. And we take a look at that and say, what level of service is that going to take it to? And if it's going to take it below a level service of C, then we have that engineering firm take a look and say, what does it need to have? What needs to happen at those locations to bring it back up to a level of service C? And then we look at what that proportionate share of that cost would be for that developer to bring those traffic impacts up to that level.
So have we done with that with this?
No, because this is a zone change.
Oh, okay.
Right. So
Just
when the development comes in and they say, right, because we know what impacts it could be, but they don't always go to the maximum amount of development, right? There's sometimes when the zone change will come in and they'll say, no, we're building to this because we believe this is where the market stands on with this construction. So depending on what happens, once we know what's happening, then it's a lot easier for the traffic engineer to take a look at that and calculate those trips generations, what the current traffic is, and what's going to happen on those intersections.
So that would be done after if we were to approve this, then that would take place to make sure that whatever's going to be built there is going to be going to be adequate for what we need.
Yeah, so that would be done through a development agreement. So anytime we have a development, we enter into a development agreement, and that development agreement lays out the responsibilities of the developer and the responsibilities of the city with that.
All right.
Keith, I've got a.
No, go ahead.
Keith, quick question. I think one of the concerns that people have with the change in zoning is the perception that it just kind of opens the floodgates. Now it can go to the highest density that is allowed in that area. So just to make sure I understand this correctly. So if we were to change the zone designation here, a developer would still have to go through that process of getting approval to build anything that would go to the maximum. I'm trying to, use my words correctly. To go to that maximum, it'd still have to be approved there, and that would then be based on those traffic studies and those other things. Could a builder be legally stopped from doing that, even though it would fit the zone, if it's determined that the roads couldn't handle it or the intersections couldn't handle it? Or is it more of, well, it's now zoned for that, we've got to let you do it, but we've got to work out who's going to pay for what to bring the road up to compliance, to that C level? Did that make sense, that question?
Yeah, so yes, I mean, in a nutshell, right, it's in that development agreement and those fees that come into play. If the developer says, I'm not doing that, then we're not going to allow the development to move forward, right? Because there's costs associated with that come into play. And so generally we sit down, we go through the development agreement, we go through the traffic impact study, we take a look at all that, we list all those costs out, right? And then that's what's signed off by the developer, the mayor, myself, and Deborah.
So the amount that can be built there, even though the zoning might allow it, is still contingent on the roads and those things that we have.
I mean, you got the roads, you got water lines, you got sewer lines, you got all the infrastructure that has to be put in place on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Just one more question.
All right.
It seems that just recently, as in, I don't know, the last 6 months, right? We were dealing with a property right next to it or right above it, whatever, and the same kind of issue, right?
Right.
And we were having this very same conversation.
Yes.
As it relates to it. So I just want to make sure that what Councilman David Reeser here just said is exactly what we're dealing with. That that this still has to go through a process in order for, that we're going to make sure that there's going to be, if roads need to be widened, if whatever that's going to be, to service the community that will be there.
Correct.
Okay.
It does. And then the thing you got to look at too, when we go through that process, we're going to bring it back to P&Z and to City Council. And that's again where you can go, were the numbers met? Is it being taken care of? Have you addressed any issues that come in that? And you'll be able to look at traffic impact study. You'll be able to look at those types of things. I think they can even see the development agreement, I believe, if you wanted to review it. All those things are part of the packet that you have the right to look at.
In the packet that I was looking at, you had a plan that kind of showed, and again, I think you even had a picture. So from the south, on the south side where you've got LDR3 on your map, on the south side, there's already apartments there, right? Is that?
No. And here's the thing you got to realize. That was submitted to us due to transparency laws. I have to put it in the packet.
Oh.
We cannot make a decision based on any of that because that's not pertinent to what they're deciding tonight. They could swap that up tomorrow if you approve it. So it needs to be ignored. But my job is I have to show you everything I receive.
Okay. I appreciate that. That's what I need to know.
And as you would have looked through the planning and zoning minutes, you'll see again that I was belligerent almost with members of the commission to disregard specific aspects that were being discussed in that meeting. Again, as to the previous discussion, remedial measures are contemplated in the law. I can understand from your position, from members of the community's position, that it can be a counterintuitive process that we deal with planning and zoning. I don't disagree with that at all, but they are, it's not a perfect system, but it's the system that we have currently. And it's incumbent that we operate and we make decisions based in the law regarding those decisions. Now, again, in the planning meeting that we had prior to this meeting, to the planning, what did we refer to it as?
The P&Z meeting?
No, the one just before this one, the work meeting, we talked about some new legislation that's coming down in July. Now, again, whether we agree or disagree with some of that legislation coming from land use decisions and land use issues, we are still going to implement those laws and incorporate that into our decision making, because again, it's what we do, and we're going to continue to do those things, even if it's counterintuitive, even if it can be frustrating at times. It's the nature of the decisions that we make when it comes to land use and planning.
Spence, before you get down, I want to just answer the couple of questions we had on the 3-minute. One, was there a quorum? That was asked. I want to make sure that was specified.
Yes, there was a quorum.
There were 6 members.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure it's specified that we did have a quorum. And that's the main thing I wanted to make sure.
There was not 6, there was 5.
There was
right?
5. Yeah, we only had 3 of us up there and then 2 online.
Okay.
There was
But we only had 10 members, so it still meets the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure that that's stated that we did have that. Okay, then Alan, just a couple questions I have to bring up on this, and they say, Spence, you can sit down probably.
I
want to stand there. As I watched this planning zoning several times and been through it, and listened to the public comments and looking at the whole structure of this, when we look at changing zoning and you have RR2 to the south of it, you have RR2 in the middle of it, it's totally different than the Birch property, which is changed to RR2 because it had really nothing connected to that to change that to R2. But where this is buttoned up against R2 and we jump and clear up to LDR2, to me, it's not a step down. It's a major jump. And we can need to consider that, especially where this lies right in the middle of 2 RR2s. You have RR2 in the south and R2 right in the middle of it, which is the southwest property. And then as I watch this whole thing, R1, yeah, at the north. And as I watched this whole thing, and we had a developer, and that's why I want to emphasize about the connectivity with the Meadows to his development, is that I don't want to force him into taking that burden on what the Meadows have of trying to get all those people out and in. Because I've been out there twice already, took pictures last night, walked around looking at that. It might be need to be look different because of just having a road there. I know that's nice, but it could cause a whole burden on his development. But I did see a lot of, let's talk about it. Let's work this out. Let's look at things. And that was never, ever discussed in planning and zoning. And the only way we can get our information is from the planning and zoning. And that's why I watched it so many times and went over it and over and trying to figure out what can we do different. I do have a problem with stepping down from RR2 to LDR2 because it's such a big jump back to back. Maybe that needs to be on the next street. So we have a whole mixed use. We always talk about mixed use. I did also look at the property on the east side where that's in our comprehensive plan. I feel like that fits, even though maybe I personally don't agree with it, but I still feel like it fits to what the developer came in and looked at to have LDR3 there. But I do have a concern with this, from LDR2 to RR2, and then also R1 to north of it. And then as I drove around and looked at the maps today to the whole city, we also got to consider, as we look at this changing, where's our city going? And where are we doing at this as we take out the second and third home buyers? Because there's nothing in the city that you hardly get into now on the LDR2, LDR1, or the R2, or the RR1. And I know we got to conserve and look at that. So I'm just bringing up my concerns, what I've seen. I did like the developer saying, let's discuss it, let's talk about it. And I don't know why, maybe it's legal, that they couldn't discuss a little bit of this and figure out how to best meet and come together to be able to have this development, because I think the developer's trying to do and come in with a good product, but also trying to, cover himself also. But there was some concerns in the planning and zoning because we get all of our information from them. And it's hard to not go back and say, ask these questions, do this, come up more in understanding so we can make a better judgment and better decision for our community.
One of the challenges, let me address a couple of things with that. If you also look, you mentioned across the freeway, we are MDR1 and HDR1. So you have that step down, which in LDR3 is a perfect fit going into that. You also have LDR2, LDR3 across the road, 12th West, which is also there. We have MDR, which is just down the road to the north a little way, MDR2. This is not considered a spot zone. And when we get into discussions with P&Z and similar to this board, there are things we can discuss and there are things that we cannot. Number one, we can't speculate on what should or shouldn't happen on a piece of property. The citizens are able to get up and express their concerns and their deal, but it's not a time of negotiation in that meeting. Their job is to look at that and go, does it meet staff standards? Does it meet the code? And is this something that fits in this area? Does it, is it a spot zone? Is it anything like that? Those are the things they have to make the decision on, because what's happening in our country right now is a lot of developers are now coming back and suing if there are not valid reasons to turn it down. And so if they just turn it down because it says we don't like it or the neighbors don't like it, they can actually have that overturned by the courts and the city is liable for those damages. So they're giving parameters in P&Z of what they can and cannot discuss. Even the fact of, well, why can't we look at these elevations of the homes and what's going in there? Because it can be changed after you approve it. We're not approving plans. We're approving a rezone only. So it's difficult to say anything other than what is the maximum density and are you comfortable with that? Anything less, you're going to be okay. So that's the reason why we can't go deeper into some of those discussions, is it's not allowed by code.
And looking at that, and one of the in zone change and discussion standards in Idaho law, states that we need to look at the compliance of zone ordinance,
Mhm.
the public service and infrastructure, and also capability of land and use impact.
Compatibility.
Yes,
Mhm.
and connecting to that. To me, jumping from LDR, from R2 up to LDR2 is a huge jump, especially when you have another land, the R1 right next to that. That's my concern. I agree with some of the other stuff here, but I think by the way the law is, we got to consider that. We got to look at that on what it's doing to that land that's surrounding those neighbors and those people.
But I believe you have already, because you've approved an LDR1 and LDR2 directly north of this property, which then fits close to what he's asking for. Now, the upper part that's LDR3, that's the lowest you can grant him according to the comp plan. He can't ask for less because of the comp plan. So he can't come in and say, make it an LDR2, because the statement in the early meetings was, we shouldn't be changing the comp plan. So he says, okay, I'll stay with the comp plan and do the lowest I possibly can.
And he could come back and ask for a comp plan change, just
He
like
was
he did.
denied the first time and they